Oh, yes, we're back again with another episode of the Tomato Sauce Wrestling Show. As always, I'm Noah G. The G stands for greatness, glory, and guts. To my left, we have man by the same name, but way more simpler than I am. It is Noah Foster, a.k.a. the Simple Man. And below me, my compadre, the man, my former client in the backyard wrestling world, we have Jack Attack. Rocking the Macho Man Randy Savage shirt, I see. As always. Ooh, yeah.
Let me tell you,
brother.
The cream of the crop,
The
right?
cream of the crop.
let me tell you something. When I go up to the top and drop that up, oh yeah.
Off balance, on balance, it doesn't matter.
Too hot to handle, too cold to hold. The Macho Man Randy Savage. Oh yeah.
Now he's up there with Dusty Rhodes and Miss Elizabeth.
Oh.
So many more.
So, guys, we had an interesting week of wrestling, by God. We told everybody we would get into it. The first thing we got to start off, without a doubt, is Backlash. We had the greatest wrestling match ever. We had pretty good tag team action from a film standpoint. From a cinematic standpoint, it was a good tag team match between the whatchamacallit, the Street Profits, the Viking Raiders and Street Profits, with the random addition of, I don't even know what they're called, the ninjas. Yeah, I don't know where that came from. But we had a full card, and I was thoroughly pleased. I definitely want to get into your guys' thoughts on it. Do we start with the kickoff, or do we just go right into the main card?
If you want the United States title to matter at all, I suggest you include it.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So the tag titles was on the kickoff show, the women's title.
No, that was the United States title.
Oh, United States title. Very good. Yep. Very good. I didn't know what you said. Okay, so United States title being on Apollo. I think, honestly, I'm really glad that they're giving him a kind of mid-card championship push, because I think he had it coming for a while. He's a phenomenal athlete. And I was thinking about this earlier today. I think it opens – and who did he face in the mid-card? Let's before I go on another
Andrade.
Yep. Andrade. Okay, and then you had Angel Garza and you had Selena and you had them kind of interfering, kind of shades of what we would see later on.
And Kevin Owens, constant professional in KO shirt and tie, providing commentary.
Right, exactly. But what I thought about that was, you have Kevin Owens lurking in the background. We all know what happens when Kevin Owens decides to join forces with somebody. A lot of time, more often than not, it ends up with Kevin turning on them, like what he did with New Day when I think it was Xavier it was Big E that got injured first, and then it was now Xavier's out with the Achilles injury. Hopefully he comes back from that. But anyway, I'm thinking this opens up an opportunity where Kevin can turn heel again. That was my personal thoughts on that. I don't know about what you guys think, but personally, I like the title on Apollo. I'm glad that he has it, but I think our boy Kevin Owens is going to be turning heel again here really soon. That was my thoughts on the old opener.
Yeah, I feel like Kevin Owens right now has been kind of lost in the shuffle. It surprised me they haven't capitalized on this WrestleMania victory against Seth Rollins. You would think that he would be pushed towards the WWE Championship, but with your WWE Champion being the top baby face in the company, you need aggressive heels to go after him. So I think a heel turn for Kevin Owens would be a perfect idea, but we'll have to wait and see.
I think that most likely it's something reserved for when, because we all know that Seth, here in the next several months, is going to be leaving. I mean, not leaving WWE, but just taking time off. Why? Because his fiance is having a baby.
Yeah, exactly.
Congrats to Becky, who's the greatest of the four horsewomen, in my opinion. But that's another conversation. We can get into that later. My opinion, she's transcended the wrestling industry. She's the biggest star out of the four horsewomen. That's my personal opinion. We'll get into that later. We can get
Becky on that. See if she responds.
They're not even mentioning her on camera anymore. Anyway, I think that there's a heel turn in the works for Kevin, say when Seth decides that he's going to head home to Becky and tend to her and the baby, and the whole Monday Night Ministry.
The idea.
Go ahead.
I like the idea of that, but at the same time, why are we building up this faction of disciples for Seth if he's just going to leave in a few months?
Right,
what
exactly.
are we going to do? Transfer it over to Kevin? That makes absolutely no sense. I feel like if we're doing Kevin Owens heel, he's completely separated from that group. He's doing his own thing. He's we're going to maybe see a little bit of Stone Cold out of him, but I doubt that. I just don't know what we would do with a heel Kevin Owens right now. I feel like there's plenty of heels to speak of and maybe not enough baby faces.
And that's kind of the problem when you think about the ratio and the creative direction when it comes to WWE's booking nowadays. Kevin Owens, I see him connecting with nobody. He will be a standalone heel when this turn occurs. As far as the discipleship, you think about when Bray Wyatt got taken out by John Cena last man standing match, Eric Rowan and Luke Harper, they kind of went off on their own, be it so a short tag team bout. So for all we know, Seth Rollins might be grooming his disciples, Murphy and Theory, into a capable tag team to maybe ran the tag team division.
Murphy and who?
Because again, he's leading by example. Austin Theory and Buddy Murphy, those are disciples of the Monday Night Messiah. Right. So yeah, I feel like the Messiah just, providing his teachings, his guidance, enlightening them. And then when Seth Rollins goes off to be a parent, short run or a long run, those two will do their own thing.
But then again, it's all speculation because who says Seth is going to do that? I mean, Becky, for all we know, could say, "Nah, baby, you can stay on the road. I'm gonna be a single mother," And then you come home when you want to spend some time with the kid, and then I'll come back into the ring. And I'll be the parent on the road making all. So they're gonna trade spots, being the the sole breadwinner. They'll just be like, we'll take turns. You go 9 months of the kid staying at home. I'll do 9 months. All right.
Well, again, when you're connected with this business, it truly becomes your life. It's hard to get away from it. I can only imagine Becky's proud to be becoming a mother, but I can only imagine how much she can't wait to also come back as well. Again, it's one of those connections. What do you care more about? Do you care more about wrestling and bringing wrestling to the fans, or do you care more about building a future through your name through the next generation with your child, whether it's in wrestling or outside wrestling? So.
I.e. the reference of he who must not be named, who took shots at Becky for his comments that he made about staying at home and versus, who I'm talking about. We're not going to mention him.
Because we're still we're on the Becky train once again, folks. Sorry, we went off topic. We went in the weeds. Backlash. So, Jack, the next match, it was the opening, and I know that you are going to take this. I'll help you out here, Noah. Let me talk to you. Women's Tag Team Championships. I don't know about you, but when it comes to the women's division and the Tag Team Championships, this is the most lucrative from a creative booking standpoint. I feel like they've been used. I thought all 6 of these women truly bought on this match, but I felt like there was one that carried more than the other for each team, personally. So give me your thoughts on this match and the result.
Okay, so here's my entire take on the women's tag team triple threat. I think the wrong team won. I would have loved to see the Iconics win because they've been booked incredible since they've returned. Do you remember when they won at WrestleMania 35?
Yes, I was the only one that picked it out, Team No DQ, and they all called me crazy. And I won WrestleMania because of that pick.
Everyone lost it. It was so great. And then what did they do for about 4 months? They lost. They didn't defend the title. It was lost in the shuffle. They weren't even seen on TV that often. Mm-hmm. If we're seeing this Iconics now, I want to see them as champions.
Right.
Now, with Bayley and Sasha Banks, I want to see them split. They shouldn't be in a tag team division. They should be feuding for the SmackDown Women's Championship.
Agree 100%.
And with Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross, I really don't have anything for them. I'd like to see Alexa go back to being a solo heel on Raw. I feel like she'd be a great contender for Asuka's Raw Women's Championship. Maybe keep Nikki on SmackDown so she can maybe pick up the scraps over the Bayley and Banks feud. Maybe get a couple shots at the SmackDown Women's Championship. Now, with that in mind, I'm still not sold on these women tag team championships. Why? How many credible teams in the women's locker room do we have right now?
Iconics. You could say what you want a little bit about Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross, telling them for a bit. Bayley and Sasha not officially a team, though. They are the only 2-time tag team champions.
No, and Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross were as well.
Oh, that's right. I forgot they did win them a second time because I was like, I didn't want them to win it a second time. And I think that's it because they tried Carmella and Dana Brooke once and one makeshift tag team in NXT.
So what are we doing with these belts? We have such a talented roster. Can we not find any women tag teams? I'm going to point out Shimmer. They have their own women's tag team belts, and they build teams around that belt.
TNA did at one point.
TNA did it better than WWE right now. We had the
Stardom literally has a division dedicated to it.
Yes, and if WWE wants to have a women's tag team titles, fine. But you have to build a tag team roster around those belts.
Right.
You can't just have 2 or 3 teams, maybe 4, competing for the same belt because it's going to get stale, repetitive, and I'm going to shut off. I'm going to skip to the next match.
Right.
The match itself was good for what it was. It was good. I liked it. It was very high paced, fast paced, action packed. I think it was phenomenal. But it didn't mean anything because those belts don't mean anything. There's no real credibility behind them.
Like I said, I think those belts belong in NXT because that's the only division I see at least 4 teams already in one brand NXT alone.
There you go.
Those belts among themselves. You got teases of it from the 6-woman tag back at NXT TakeOver in your house. Enough said. Now, the fact they're actually being defended this Wednesday in NXT, I feel like it's just filler because, again, we already know what's happening this Monday. But before we go on to the next match, Noah G, any further thoughts on this match of these titles?
Honestly, I think that I completely agree. I think it would be a smart decision for the ladies to bring the championships to NXT because right now it's like you're not going to be gunning for the main championship. You know, Stone Cold says all the time, if you're not going for the world title, why are you even here? Well, not all the women can go for the main championship because of their popularity and they're not as utilized and they're not as built up in the eyes of both the people backstage and the fans. So what do? You slap them together with somebody else and then you put them in a tag team and gun for the championships. That just means what it's like. It just looks like it's lazy booking with some of the singles competitors to put them in a tag team and try and build up a division that really doesn't exist and have any credibility. So I agree they should bring it. I mean, look at all the talent that you have in NXT with the women right now. You have Raquel Gonzalez and Dakota Kai. You have Shotzi Blackheart and Tegan, which formerly 2 of those ladies in both those teams were formerly best friends, and then we all know how that turned out. Who else am I missing? We have who else? There's I'm trying to think.
There was a makeshift tag team for a while of Vanessa Bourne and Aaliyah, but I don't know what Vanessa's doing right now. Right. There's also Santana Garrett. She's been floating around as well. Chelsea Green is still somewhere in NXT. We don't know what's next for her. But the fact is there's so much depth in the women's division of NXT, and you're constantly building these tag team feuds with your NXT women's division. Have them go for something.
For all we know, if they bring the titles back to NXT, you could have Kairi Sane come out of nowhere, team back up with Io, and then they could have the Sky Pirates reunion. I mean,
I don't want to see that though. I want to see dedicated tag team wrestlers gunning for tag team belts. I don't want to see single stars holding a tag team title.
You don't want to see
doesn't make sense.
Tag teams. Okay.
Yes, I'm tired of those.
Bottom line is this: WWE among the brands does not have enough tag teams among the red and blue. You include yellow, you might actually have something there, but then again, it might just be a range plug that might not work. Bottom line, when the world gets normal, you do it among all 4 brands, you actually have something going. Okay, next match. Noah G, why don't you take this away? Because I still think the shoddy creative angle on Friday night that was a retcon of Vince and HBK was freaking shit. But what was your thoughts on Sheamus versus Jeff Hardy?
Oh, God. Okay, so I see, here's my thoughts on that. Personally, I love Jeff Hardy. I have childhood memories of being a huge fan of Jeff Hardy back before in his CM Punk feud back on SmackDown back in the day. That was brilliant. Like, it was building up Punk as like this amazing heel. Jeff Hardy was white hot as a babyface at that time, you know. So I have fond memories of him. I want him to bring I want them to give him his old theme music back because that theme music is phenomenal. Now, what they were trying, but on the match and basically they built a mini feud in the course of this pay-per-view for Backlash. Right. They were trying to tell a legit story, and personally, I like that. I love that when they actually get the time on several segment shows to build up to the pay-per-view. I think the build-up was not the best. It could have been 100% better, but it was still for the attempt. I got to give them the benefit of the doubt. You know, because they played off this thing like, you know, what was it? Elias got hit by a car. They blamed it on Jeff. Jeff gets drug tested. They find out it's Sheamus. You know, they do all that stuff in the storyline, and then they build up to this match. Now, I don't think the payoff for the match was as good as it should have been. I mean, I don't think that there was the payoff of this match and the actual end result, what they were doing in the ring, you know, the match, the payoff of the build-up. You guys hear what I'm saying? Like the build-up to this match.
The actual match versus the story.
Yep. Right, exactly. What should have happened in the ring was And honestly, I think it should have ended differently. I think Jeff should have redeemed himself, but yet we get Sheamus because he's, big, buff, and Irish, and pale, and he's jacked. He gets a bro kick on Jeff. It's like, I think maybe this is something bigger. Maybe it leads to a longer feud. Hopefully, maybe not. Maybe not. I don't know. Honestly, like, it was during the match, I was just like, I'm just gonna watch the video, and then as the match is progressing, I'm like, you know what? I gotta go to the bathroom.
Oh, geez,
Yeah,
ouch.
really.
I'm
Okay.
being honest. It's just like I'm not really hyped for this match. I'm more waiting for what's later on in the night. So I mean,
Well, that's fair.
I lost interest rather quickly.
I mean, that's fair because, again, Backlash from the get-go, it was a filler pay-per-view. It's been like that since 2017. Like, don't get me started with that. Jack, your thoughts on this match?
I think it was a good match. Contrary to what Noah says, I think it was a good match. I think it told a really good story. I just wish it ended differently. And to reiterate what Noah, this buildup has been happening since before Jeff's return. We'd see Sheamus have a match and then a Jeff Hardy promo.
Yep.
Sheamus would squash a jobber, another Jeff Hardy promo. And
Yep.
it was just such a buildup that these two are going to butt heads, and we saw it coming for months. Do I like the druggy angle with it? I absolutely do not. I love that. I think it's a slap in the face to what Jeff has done. And to all the addicts out there that might seek solace in someone like Jeff who has overcome his demons, to see that storyline, that breaks them. But other than that, I feel like Jeff should have walked away victorious, showing, yes, there's still hope, and that story that there's still hope. But I understand why Sheamus won, is to show, hey, don't do drugs. Don't be bad. Do I think this feud should continue? Really, I don't think so. I think it's ran its course with the one and done. I feel like Jeff might challenge AJ soon. He might get a rerun match on Friday Night SmackDown. We'll see Jeff come on top and say, hey, I want my Intercontinental Championship back. I was unjustly knocked out of that tournament. Maybe we'll get a triple threat with Sheamus, Jeff Hardy, and AJ Styles. I just feel like there's a lot of more building that we can do to this, but also run its course. I'm not particularly excited to see more Sheamus and Jeff Hardy, but I wouldn't be upset if I saw it.
I feel like halfway through the match at Backlash, both men were really winded. But again, it was Jeff Hardy trying to fight from under, prove that I am overcome my past. You cannot define me by that. I am going to overcome you. But it looks like you said, this feud is going to continue. Maybe it was one of those positive PAs being like, I beat a former junkie. This just goes to show, kids, don't do drugs. The way that they built this match, especially with that final angle, I thought it was absolutely unnecessary. I feel like they were already off to a good start, though, with the fact that Sheamus was being overshadowed not by a jobber, but by Jeff Hardy, who was yet to come back in the ring. When he came back to the ring, he confronted him. And I feel like that was enough in itself to build this match. Because, again, Sheamus could have gone for the idea, I've been here, fella. I've been getting wins. You get all this hype, and you haven't been here at all because you overcome some bad mistakes. That doesn't mean crap here when you don't put it in the ring. And I feel like that match should improve. And I feel like Sheamus winning, that proved it itself. But yeah, we saw the logo, so clearly we know, one, this isn't over, and two, Jeff's going to be involved in something extreme or cinematic, but also based on pay-per-view, WWE post-booking logic. It would not surprise me if there was a rematch this Friday. But technically, both men, they are 1-1 because Jeff Hardy did beat Sheamus in the Continental Championship tournament, as you discussed. I thought the match was okay, went a little long. I called the right result because I felt the story was going in that direction. But I did wish there was a different ending. Only time will tell how far this goes.
Wonder how long they're gonna play the footage of Jeff Hardy throwing piss in Sheamus's face. That might go down in history, boys. I'm just throwing that out there right now. I mean, nobody's ever done that in WWE history. So.
Yes, they have. I told you it was a retcon. I told you I've been a fan all my life. Don't you remember on the road to WrestleMania 22 how Vince was calling Shawn Michaels former drug abuse and literally had him do a public urination test in the middle of the ring on Monday Night Raw, threw the piss in his face, and I quote, better be pissed off than pissed on. They literally retconned that in 2020 because this is Vince McMahon's WWE led by his top yes man now, Bruce Pritchard, until Bruce doesn't get the ratings.
Why are they referencing all this old? I mean, I'm not gonna. I don't want to drive too far away from what we're talking about. But did you guys see? I don't want to. And again, spoilers from last night. Christian came out dressing like Vince McMahon. In ring gear, like he had the cutoff shirt and the black wrist stuff, and he in all black pants, like he was Vince McMahon's ring attire. Like, come
It's
on,
very,
Christian.
very simple.
Christian, I think it's because they were trying to hide the fact that Christian's been out of shape for God knows how long.
Nope. Ego. It's got to be ego.
It's gotta be ego. And again, it's
Stroking
gotta
his
be
own
Vince's
ego.
ego. We all know when Vince ever goes out in street clothes on a WWE event, it's some sort of angle. It's not an actual match, or there's a plan. And of course, that was shown in the last 5 minutes, which we'll get to. But let's go ahead and run this real quick because I feel like this match should have been 5 minutes because this match botched, messy fest. Raw Women's Championship. Noah G, I'll start with you. What were your thoughts on Asuka versus Nia Jax? Feel free to take the glasses off.
Can we just acknowledge the fact that this woman is like the female version of like Goldberg or like like Brock Lesnar? I mean, like I can't help it. Like Asuka's trying to get in. Asuka's trying to get in there and do an arm bar on the ropes, and and then Nia, it like fumbles over the ropes onto the ring apron. Like out of the ring, and I'm like, I know what you're trying to do, Asuka, and I know you're trying to make this woman look good, but like she's throwing her. But I mean, I'm thankful that Asuka didn't get injured last night or 2 nights.
That was my biggest threat, and the thing I had some 0.02% expectation that, okay, based on their past history through NXT, through the NXT live tours in Tokyo, where she defended the NXT Women's Championship multiple times against her, and she was actually a credible opponent, and they actually had great work, this might have a glimmer of hope.
Right.
Boy, was I fucking wrong.
Exactly. But
Jack, your thoughts.
I didn't. Oh, sorry, Jack. I don't mean to cut you off.
You got
really
finish up real quick.
Really quickly, like. It's not, but I'm going to hold firm to what I've said about Nia in the past. I'm not going to drag her and talk shit on social media about Nia Jax because, one, I know that she means well. She comes from a wrestling family. She wants to do as best she can. Now, does that mean that she's exempt from, learning from her mistakes and actually learning how to grow? I don't think that's her objective right now. I think her objective is to just do her job. It just appears to me that she doesn't want to get better. She wants to just continue to do her job on a weekly basis and get paid. I'm calling it like I see it. Like it just shows up, okay, you got your knee injuries. And she's like, well, you guys don't know what I went through with getting my knees replaced. So I'm just going to show up to work. I'm going to get my paycheck and I'm going to have these matches and screw these girls if they get hurt. It's their problem. And that's the wrong attitude to have. You got to, I mean, but then again, it's from my perspective. I'm not going to who am I to call judgment? I'm a fan from the outside. It's just from my perspective, this is what the vibe that Nia's giving off. Is it making me hate her as a heel? Yes, it is. So maybe she's doing a brilliant thing right now. But if she's really hurting the girls, like, no, like you need to learn how to do your
legitimately injured, and at the end of the day, it is a job. You're trying to provide for your family. You want a paycheck, but also you reach that point of complacency where you're like, I'm not even going to try anymore to get better, or try to really give you all what you want. I'm just going to roll with the fact you're giving me this criticism. I'm just going to work you all on Twitter because that's actually what she's been doing, sort of. And I feel like Foley, in a way, kind of sees that because Foley actually supports Nia Jax and endorsed her to win this match. But yeah, this match absolutely unnecessary. Horrible finish, and Asuka was trying her best to carry Nia. That's what this match was about, and Nia just wasn't putting the work in, and clearly, I think it showed. Jack, your quick thoughts on this match so we can get away from this.
All right, so this is going to take a little. It's not going to be quick. I'm sorry. So I'm going to list out a couple. I'm going to list out a couple of names that Nia's injured in the past 2 or 3 years. Buckle up, gentlemen. Zelina Vega, Ember Moon. Almost all of the 4 horsewomen, most notably Becky Lynch, Kairi Sane. How is someone this reckless? And I will talk shit on Twitter because if I did use Twitter, because as a fucking professional wrestler, what is your number one job? To make sure that the person that you are wrestling with is able to walk out on their own power. Now, if it's an accident, fine. But if you are intentionally hurting people, you deserve nothing. When I used to wrestle, my main goal was to A, put on a good show, and B, make sure I didn't break anyone's fucking leg. I don't want that bad juju on me. Now, for Nia Jax to be consistently hurting people, why the fuck are you in a Raw Women's Championship match? What is the storyline behind that? Why are you getting pushed? I guarantee if it was anyone else, say the 4 Horsewomen, they would be fired or demoted to NXT. Now, why hasn't she been either? It's because she's The Rock's cousin. Let's put it out there blatantly.
Demoted. Wait. Time out, Jack. I'm sorry.
Demoted to NXT.
Bro, no. To go into NXT is not a demotion. Tell that to Finn Balor and tell that
Theoretically,
I feel like going to NXT is a saving grace. Look at Finn Balor.
It is, but at the same time, it's much more.
Tell it to Charlotte and Finn Balor.
Forgive me for the demotion, but what I meant by that was less money, less screen time. Maybe you have to compete with all these other people instead of having a guaranteed spot on the main roster.
If anybody can, but here, take this one. Put this one in. Write this down in history. I think if anybody can benefit from working for the younger ladies and losing and putting the younger talent over, it's Nia Jax.
No, it's not. Nia Jax is a liability in the ring. She shouldn't be in the ring with anyone, and she shouldn't be wrestling. End of line. She should be out of WWE. She is too inconsistent. She is too sloppy. She is too reckless. And if what you said was true, Noah, she doesn't care. She's just there to collect a paycheck, and that is absolutely disgusting and despicable. I say the same thing about Brock Lesnar. He's just there to collect a paycheck. I don't like that. If you're going to be wrestling, you need to have the passion for it, not the idea of I'm here to collect a paycheck.
But yet John Cena puts Brock Lesnar over as one of the greatest performers of all time.
Well, that's fucking John Cena.
Right.
John Cena and Brock Lesnar go way, way back.
Right.
OVW.
Yeah. Right. But anyway, let's move on.
Get away from this.
Okay, so
we
now
triggered. We triggered Jack.
Hashtag triggered. Apologies, folks. But again, it was part backlash. Okay, let's talk about something a little bit more humorous. And you can start with the music video if you want. How about the handicap match for the Universal Championship? Braun Strowman versus Miz and Morrison, and I refuse to say that tagline. Noah G, start off.
I gotta give it credit to Braun Strowman on this one. The fact that they made his car a symbol in this pay-per-view because it recurred several times. It recurred during their match with Braun Strowman's match with Miz and Morrison, and it showed up again in the later on the Raw tag team match with the Viking Raiders and the Street Profits. The fact that they made his car like I can imagine the conversation like Vince is like, "Hey Braun, we smashed your window a couple times." Like, yeah, Vince, you're paying for it. Like, go ahead. Like, like you're paying for my new windshield. Like we're like, I love my car, but we're just gonna break the shit out of it several weeks consistently. I love that. But honestly, I was reminded what it brought me back to was back when AJ Styles was having his phenomenal, not to play on words, his phenomenal WWE Championship reign that lasted over a year, and when he had to face Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn in a handicap match. Personally, I think it's interesting when they have a singles title being defended in a handicap match. I thought this is going to be interesting. No way in hell do I see Miz and Morrison walking out with this one because it's Braun. I see it basically him grabbing both of them at the same time and basically power slamming the shit out of both of them. That's exactly how it's going to happen logically. And then in my imagination, the other side of my brain, I'm like, but what if they actually get the victory? And what if they pull one over Braun? Like what if? But it's not going to happen. Right. But personally, I liked it. I love the comedy of Miz and Morrison with the music video and how they tried to become baby faces, even though it's clear that they're the heels. They're the arrogant heels. They're trying to come up and get the crowd to chant their song for the music video. You had Corey Graves with his annoying ass just saying the the music chant over and over again. Like, come on, Cole, say it. Come on, Cole, say it. And I'm like, Corey, shut up. Just stop. Just stop. Let Cole just take over the match from here. Corey, we don't need to hear anything out of you. But anyway, no, I personally, it was a filler match. And at the end of the day, it's the Universal Championship. It's a filler match. It's Braun showing off his dominance and just having fun with the guys. It was a filler match. I enjoyed it. It was kind of it was uplifting from what we were just talking about. That was good to see, and it was funny. So I kind of enjoyed that aspect. But Jack, what did you think?
I think this was a fun little match. I didn't like the story that was told beforehand, where there would be no co-champions. I feel like that shouldn't have been a thing. I feel like if they were going to do that, they should have done that weeks earlier, and they should have really built on it. Like, oh, who's going to betray who? Oh, who's going to do what? And you can't really build that story within like 15 minutes. You can't say, okay, only one of you is walking out with us. Now it's like, oh, well, our game plan's ruined when it comes to that kind of sense. But I really liked it. I feel like this is just another stepping stone for Braun for whoever he faces next. No one was seriously believing that Miz and Morrison could walk out of this with the Universal Championship. They told a very good story of it was being possible, but at the end of the day, we knew it wasn't going to happen. Good filler, very nice. There was a very nice match after the train wreck we had earlier.
Yeah,
and that's really all I got for it. It was a good match.
I thought it was okay based on the story they were telling in the match, where the two literally, despite the fact they learned like prior to this, just backstage, only one of you, whoever gets the pin, gets the championship. Both did work together when it came down to it after seeing we can't handle Braun one-on-one after one was getting like tossed like a rag doll, the other one got thrown in the corner, did the tag. At one point, Miz trying to tag John Morrison. John Morrison was out. Braun Strowman running over everybody like a freight train. No pun intended. But when they did get the better of him, doing the literal handicap rules to their advantage, and there was no ref count. And by the way, no tag ropes. FTR, you know what I'm talking about. But based on the way the match was going and the fact they did pull out some tandem tag team offense, and it looked like at one point they could win. But there was the subtle idea of these two men being too big for their own egos, where John Morrison felt like he was going to get it for himself, but Miz refused to let that happen. In the end, it led to their downfall. One of them got power slammed. It was John Morrison. Before this, though, there was no credibility, I believed, in John Morrison or The Miz in this match because of the angles they pulled off on Friday night with the slime and the childish pranks, like I was watching stuff on Nickelodeon. And then, of course, in their main tag match, they lost that, too, in that six-man tag. So it was like, you gave me no reason whatsoever to believe in Braun Strowman's opponent. So clearly, this was filler because, again, I'm still thinking about what happened at the end of Money in the Bank. Let me in. There's got to be a Fiend versus Braun Strowman match coming some point down the line. Bray Wyatt still exists. And apparently, Firefly Funhouse will be this Friday.
We haven't seen anything of Braun in the past, since then, have we? Since Money in the Bank?
Oh, we haven't. Not one thing at all. And I have not followed his Twitter, so I have no idea if he's tweeted anything cryptic or what. But there's been nothing of Braun Strowman since Money in the Bank.
Is it possible Bray went home because of everything going on right now?
But there is that possibility, but also he did have another child. So I think that was the key reason. Remember?
That might have been it.
Yeah,
so maybe we're building up to a return. The only thing I wanted to mention about that I forgot to mention about this match, though, did you guys see the opening segment where they're like showing what happened in the previous weeks? I got a huge kick out of when they were playing the playback from the previous weeks, and it happened on SmackDown when John Morrison's like, "You're gonna face Miz, MC Miz in a one-on-one match," and Miz is like, "No, don't do it." And Braun's like, "I accept." And Miz is like, "Damn it!" I was laughing my ass off.
That was the funniest bit because again, John Morrison let his mouth overload his ass, and next thing you know, well, we saw what happened. So.
Anytime there's a tag team and the partner is like it's like a loudmouth tag team and they go up against like the badass champion and they just run their mouth a little bit too much and then they volunteer their partner for a match. It's money to me. I love that shit when they're just like, you know who's gonna face you in a match, big man? My partner. Like, I love that. It's just
they feed each other to the wall.
Comedic. It's comedic. It's like it's just comedic. It's the root of all comedy because it's like you think like you're gonna get a coward who's gonna shake off his way of life, but really what he does is just offer. He's just like, nope, I'm gonna hide behind my guy right here. Nope, I'm not getting my hands dirty. That's my guy right next to me. But what was the? No, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Noah.
No, go ahead. I was just getting my throat together.
What was the match that followed the Universal title? Was it Drew and Lashley?
It was Drew Yes, as you place it. It was Drew McIntyre versus Bobby Lashley. And again, ever since Lashley came back to WWE, I lost all faith in anything for him until MVP came back and they played the Impact angle, and it felt like Lana was an afterthought or gone. And I wish that was the case here, but I realized why they did towards the end. Now, despite the fact there was some couple messy spots, especially that suplex to the barricade where he went head first, I thought that Lashley looked really good here, and this was actually a pretty damn good match, especially with the pre-match attack that he got the master lock in, really getting advantage Drew McIntyre, fighting after the bell when McIntyre was still in the jacket. And Bobby Lashley controlled a good portion of this match. Both men, they threw everybody out there, brought up Impact history, including Anaconda Vice and their work with Angle. Personally, up to this point, this was my favorite match of the night, and I feel like the right guy won because, again, I feel like Drew McIntyre, you have way too much invested in this guy, and he could definitely lead this company for a long time as a babyface champion, which we have not seen for a while with the WWE Championship. Not because of some movement, because of some obvious booking, Kofi Mania, or because of the fact that he's, a legitimate threat that you can believe. He can hold this title for a really long time, but he doesn't show up every day. Here, this man's fighting every week while holding and presenting the champion. This is a guy you can get behind, and I thought, based on the build, Lashley was an appropriate opponent during this time. Really enjoyed the match. Do I want to see these two faces show again one-on-one? Only if it's submissions, because at one point it went from a test of strength to a mat game. And I love that storytelling in this match, how well both men could counter one another, get the better of one another. The ending, though, really soured it for me, and that's all I have to say about that.
Right.
Jack, your thoughts?
Yeah, go to Jack. All I want to say really quickly, Jack, is they built the shit out of Lashley as a submission.
They did.
About submissions, like good at submission moves, like they built the shit out of Lashley for that.
That was brilliant.
This was such a different Lashley than we were used to seeing. This isn't Bobby Lashley versus Aleister Black. It wasn't that. It wasn't a train wreck, in my opinion. But this was a really good match. We are getting, as you said, we're getting old Impact Wrestling vibes, and it's long overdue at this point. Had this match been a few years earlier, say 2018, it would have been talked about to now.
Yeah, it would have been like the rematch we've been waiting for 2 years in the making.
And for what we got, it was great. I loved it. Do I like the direction they went at the end? No. I feel like we should have had a more decisive finish, but I understand why they did it, so we can build up to another rematch because it was so good the first time. I want to see it again. I want to see a cage match. I want to see a steel cage match with these two. I'd love to see that.
Like that idea.
With Drew, Drew has not lost this year. I want to be very frank with that. He has not lost a single match, including the Royal Rumble. This man, whoever ends up dethroning him, needs to be as credible as Drew.
Exactly.
And there's no one on the roster like that right now. Maybe Aleister Black, but I think it's too early for him right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, wow. This is, what a time. What a time. We're seeing it night and day from last year. No one would really talk about Kofi's matches. And no offense to Kofi or anything. This isn't the same energy.
Right.
Because this leads me into another topic of conversation, but do I agree that it should have ended differently? Yes. Did I have a feeling that Lana was going to come out there and either spoil it or even cause Drew the match and the title? Yes.
I sensed spoil. I did not sense her causing, Drew. I sensed her causing Bobby, and technically she did.
Right, exactly. But so unfortunately, and personally, me going into this match, I wanted Bobby to win. I don't know about where you guys stood on this. Do I agree with everything with Noah said about Drew? Absolutely. I'm glad that they're pushing Drew. They're giving him the push that he deserves. They've put the WWE Championship on him, and the man is representing. I'm proud of Drew being champion. That being said, though, do I think that they've been building up Bobby to be WWE champion as well? Yes. And I think with MVP, they have a mouthpiece that can really talk some deep shit and get Bobby into some really good matches because MVP is going to be lighting the fire on all the babyfaces' asses, which is great. But this opens up another topic of conversation. I don't know if you guys saw the segments, but from what I understand and what I've seen, MVP has had a segment with Apollo, correct?
Yes.
MVP's had a segment with now Shelton Benjamin.
Yes.
There's a stable in the works here, without a doubt. There's a stable in the works here. For all we know, next week, MVP could be trying to get a segment with the Street Profits. They could be building a faction on this, and they could be putting gold on all those guys. So I mean, I don't know. Like, to me, it just seems like there's a push to build a faction under MVP, which is perfect because what we talked about earlier going on with Seth. They could bury that faction to build up a new one and replace it. That's just a thought that I'm having. I don't know if it's being talked about, if that's actually happening. That's just my initial thoughts. Is because with MVP right now, you're building up a faction right now. And that's
I can kind of see that, considering the fact that we had everybody except Homicide and Low-Key pretty much in Beatdown Clan out at ringside at freaking Backlash. So I could definitely see the idea of MVP building a faction through the people you mentioned and more. But when I think about faction warfare, you're trying to put up a faction against another heel faction in the Monday Night Messiah and his disciples. He would still need at least two more people underneath his wing, according to what you're setting up. And honestly, this feels like a Survivor Series feud, when they have a real traditional Survivor Series match. So I like that booking, but I feel like that should be more long-term rather than the short-term. And maybe you are thinking long-term right now. Only time will tell. But bottom line is this. Drew McIntyre, Bobby Lashley, give it to me again. And the fact that he actually told Lana, I want a divorce, similar like Edge and Vicky. I'm sure she's screaming at the top of her lungs. And hopefully that is it, and that's all. Please, give me a rematch with these two, submissions or steel cage, because I want to see these two bring it again, because that was a really impressive match.
If I may, to piggyback off of Noah G, we already have two stables. Well, we already had about two stables. We had Zelina Vega's crew and Seth Rollins' crew, and we saw what happened with Zelina's crew.
And they're all heels, by the way.
They're all heels.
Like, if you're going to do a faction warfare, you kind of need to figure out a face stable. And right now, there's no idea where you can go with that on Monday Night Raw, in my opinion.
But we already had that, and we already saw what happened with that. We included Austin Theory for God knows whatever reason. And now he's with Seth's crew. Do I like the idea of MVP creating a faction? Yes, I do. But we already have two heel stables. We don't need a third. You either need to get rid of one or turn one of them face.
But but another thing is MVP may not even be creating a stable. He can be just doing the Paul Heyman thing, where he's managing several different people at the same time in the course of their singles careers.
Dangerous alliance.
Exactly, but they're not like all coming to the ring together like what do you call it? Like the Undisputed Era, or they could be having a thing where they're building up alliances for where, if you have your main event, your champion like Bobby Lashley, who's about to get his ass whooped, who comes out to save the day, an Apollo Crews, a Shelton Benjamin, or just somebody else other than MVP, because we all know Lana's getting thrown out of the picture, thankfully. You had that segment on Raw where Lana is seen talking with Natty. Maybe there's something going on there.
No.
But maybe it's good. Maybe it's a good thing.
This is like a high school drama sitcom waiting to happen. You got one capable wrestler and one mouthpiece. Lana can't wrestle. Don't put
but she's a manager.
Together.
You're right. She's a manager.
Natalia doesn't need a manager.
Natty can talk. You remember that segment with Natty and Becky? Well, you must not have been a really good lover then, bitch. I loved that shit.
Yeah, what happened to this?
You're right. Natty can talk.
We can talk about women's booking another day. We're talking about we're basically a creative team better than Vincent Pritchard with original ideas right now. We're creating our own Monday Night Raw, and we don't even own the damn video game.
Hold on, let me. WWE? Yeah, you got contracts for all three of us to be on your creative team. Yeah, just give us like a couple million and we'll do it for you.
I want $1 million guaranteed.
I want benefits with my contract too.
Yes, gentlemen, we have been signed.
Creative control within the last 30 days of my contract, please, so that I can come out
and off. I can take this day.
Or why?
And I only have to work this many days. Thank you.
Creative control in the last 30 days of my contract, so that on my last day I can come out and drop a pipe bomb like Punk did. I can live the dream. Anyway,
talking about creative, this is an interesting segue into a. Would you call this a match? I just call this cinematic craziness. What was I watching? Was I channel surfing? Was I just going back through the past? Because this was ridiculous. I don't know whether to laugh, say what the fuck, or be like, why was this part of the show? Why was this after the WWE Championship match? Now, I get now why you didn't close the WWE Championship match, but I still think your booking is downright retarded. With that being said, Jack, your thoughts. Raw Tag Team Champions, the Street Profits, and the Viking Raiders fought before their match could take place. The exact words according to WWE results. What was your take on this?
We got stuck in a time continuum because this shouldn't have happened. We should not have seen this. Is it interesting, creative? Yes, it does piggyback of what we've seen with the Viking Raiders and Street Profits, but I don't want to see that on a pay-per-view. I want to see wrestling on a pay-per-view.
Yeah.
And we've seen cinematic wrestling matches. We've seen the Firefly Funhouse match. We've seen the Boneyard match. We've seen the Money in the Bank match. Those worked because there was solid wrestling behind it. The action shots were great. Everything was great about it. I enjoyed those. This, however, just felt really thrown together. And it felt like a cool-down match. It felt like, okay, we just got done with that WWE Championship match. Get the tag team titles out there, and everyone get some water. Everyone go use the restroom. Everyone grab some popcorn. Do what you need to do. And it did. And we talked about the women's tag team division. To get to a point where we're going to see the same couple of teams, and it's not fresh, it's not exciting. It's why FTR left. They were sick of being second rate, according to WWE. Was this a fun match? I'm sure it was if you were drunk and high at the same time and you were just mixed out of your mind. It's like, whoa, this is cool.
Yo, if you were tripping on acid.
If you were let me tell you.
I was just more afraid about Rocky Horror Picture Show. Let's do the time warp again, because that's literally what this was. They did revisit all these crazy tag team vignettes, reminding us tag team wrestling doesn't matter. But wait, Street Profits, they have red belts with dimes on them. What the hell was this? And as FTR put it, yes, we saw. Yes, we're glad we left. Thank God someplace knows what tag team wrestling is. And it actually matters to the point that it's not just a title line, it's main events, and it's multiple storylines with a depth division. Do you all know what I'm talking about? Exactly. Oh, yeah. I dare you to call me something. Go fuck yourself.
We'll get into the tag. We'll get into this because we have
to talk again, creative. I'll go on top. Your thoughts on this?
But here's the thing. If I may, I'm going to kind of not peel, but open the curtain a little bit.
Please.
The reason why WWE has been doing the cinematic thing, expressing his cinematic gifts as of recently with the Boneyard match, with the Money in the Bank, with the Firefly Funhouse, is because of everything going on in the world right now. I think it gave the opportunity for WWE's staff, who are without a doubt gifted in this area, to show off their talents and kind of create a special experience for all the fans. A bigger part of the effort to get them to forget about everything going on right now. That being said, I'm not going to say that and at the same time excuse things that don't make the cut. Like the Boneyard match made the cut. The Firefly Funhouse made the cut. Money in the Bank ladder match, without a doubt, made a cut. Made the
sort
cut.
of.
This match. There were things about it that I liked and that I found humorous, like the one shot where they had one of the Viking Raiders summon the chicken wing like it was Thor's hammer. I felt like I loved that shit. Well, the ninjas coming out of nowhere, it kind of threw me off a bit. I don't know why they've been doing that. I don't know if you saw it, but they made what they did was they took the clip of it was either one of the Viking Raiders getting speared through the window and the glass breaking, but they did that, and then they added it to Stone Cold Steve Austin's entrance video, and then Stone Cold retweeted saying, "Hey, oh hell yeah,"
Stone Cold lives.
But exactly. But at the same time, it's like, I don't know. I think they were just like, you know what? We've been on a roll with this cinematic experience we've been getting our fans. Where can we insert it at this pay-per-view? I don't know. Maybe the Raw tag team title match. But they didn't even give us a title match,
and yet just the card came out the brand like, hey, you guys got a match. It's next. And then they're trying to get away from a dumpster monster.
I don't think, but here's the thing. I don't think which was a reference to Star Wars, the New Hope, where they're in the garbage disposal. I don't know if you guys caught that one, A New Hope, but when they're in the trash compactor,
Yep. Channel surfing. Yep. I get it.
But we don't need that. The Viking Raiders are so much better when they're not doing comedy skits. They're a legitimate tag team. The War Raiders. I remember seeing them live and just chanting war with them because it was credible. And now look at them. It's a shame to see what's going on with them.
Well,
They deserve better.
yeah. Well, again, tag team wrestling doesn't matter.
Doesn't
NXT
matter.
tries to make it matter. You want to know where tag team wrestling matters? AEW and JPW. With that
We'll
being
get into
said,
that.
we go from something that's kind of what the hell, but then again, WWE is for kids, and I also thought about that too. They're trying to make kids feel happy since they aren't there. They're giving something for the kids at home, and the parents like, "Mommy, look at this! He took a bowling ball to the groin." It's like, really? This is the childish humor, Vince, that you believe connects with today's audience of wrestling fans. You're brilliant. You're a genius. That's such good shit.
He's in touch, bro.
Well,
He's in
yeah,
touch.
we know.
Such good
We know.
shit.
Anyway, I don't know if you call this the same thing, but I definitely don't call it the greatest. As our last match was Randy Orton versus Edge in, I'll just say it right now, it was a match I did not expect to see the way that it happened and how long it went for. Noah G, your thoughts on this?
I was having the time of my life watching this match. This is something that I've wanted to see for a long time. I think they told not to quote AJ Styles, but a phenomenal story. I mean, you tell the story of Randy Orton, this ring general who's been killing it for the past 9 years, while Edge has been sitting at home with Beth or attending to the kids while Beth's commentating NXT. I mean, like, and Edge has sort of lost his confidence. But then what happens is you see the master manipulator and you see the rated R superstar of old slowly peek out. Like you see with that big boot from the outside ring post that somehow he sneaks in and out of the ring like the old sinister superstar of old. Me, I'm wanting to see a heel Edge again so badly. Like, I'm wanting to see the sneaky getting away with anything Edge of old. I want that so bad. Do I think it's going to happen? Probably not, because he's a Hall of Famer and ultimate babyface of all time because of his injury and returning.
Right.
But anyway, I love the Eddie Guerrero tribute with the three amigos and how Randy goes for it at first, gets denied the third time. Edge does it. I love that. Viva la raza, baby. I love that. But where does this stack up as one of the greatest of all time? Do I think so? It's been one of the greatest matches that WWE has produced in recent memory. I will give it that. Okay. What do I think it's better than that SmackDown match that we saw between Daniel Bryan and AJ Styles? No. Do I think it was better than when Seth Rollins did a gauntlet match on Raw for like an hour and a half straight? No. Same thing with Daniel Bryan on SmackDown for like an hour straight? No. Because those are moments when the fans got behind someone for real. Like, if I wasn't convinced before, I was then. Was it better than Kenny Omega and Okada in New Japan? No. Shawn Michaels and Undertaker at WrestleMania 25? Absolutely not. Was it great? I would say yes. Greatest of all time? Not even close. I think it put itself up there, but I would say maybe in the top 10. But when you include NXT and everything that's happening all around, I don't know. It was good. It was great. I'll give it that, but not the greatest wrestling match.
Yeah, and I will say this. I thought it was, first off, way over dramatic. It felt like I was watching a video game with all the piped-in amplified sounds, and I felt like that both Edge and Orton kind of felt like that too. When Baron's Test was talking about they were using amplified audio and unique camera angles, I was like, okay, so what's your camera angles here? You got the hard cam, you got the overhead cam, then the zoom-in cam. Charles Robinson looking like he put on makeup for the first time in 13 years.
Yes.
Looking younger with the old-school referee-type shirt and bow tie.
Yes.
The ghost of Howard Finkel talking through a Madison Square Garden microphone while you still hear "Greatest of all time" playing in the background. I thought it was corny, but also kind of a little amusing. And then as the match went on, it was a really calculated match that traced a lot back to a tribute of the greats finishers, but also some good history among the two. And as far as the way it ended, damn, did not expect that, because when was the last time Orton pulled out a punt and hit it? And it took that to knock down Edge. But Edge, showing he still has grit, as he puts it, he did not go on the gurney. But he was questioning, can I still do this? Should I just go home? Which I'm pretty sure Orton was whispering to him after the match. I don't know if you all could distinguish what he was saying.
You should go home to Beth is exactly.
But as far as this match goes, and all the near falls, and all the tributes, all the finishes, all the history brought up, we can literally talk about that all night. I thought it was, take a word from one of the moves taken. I thought it was glorious. Not the greatest, but it was a really good match. Blood and was also shed here, sweat. I don't think tears were shed here, maybe by the audience, like, oh no, Edge lost, Edge is dead.
The NXT talent was inspired by that match. You cannot deny that. They were sitting there and they were inspired by that shit.
Kind of helped deliver how much you really thought it was it multiple times. I thought multiple times, especially when both men finally hit their finishers at least twice, the match would end. And it didn't. So for what the match did, I thought it was really good. But as you said, and I could talk about 15 other greats because I watch so much pro wrestling, NWA included, not the greatest. Jack, your thoughts on this match?
This match was never going to live up to the hype of the greatest wrestling match ever. Now, for me, I took that away as soon as I started. I was like, I'm not going to treat it like such. I'm going to treat it as a regular wrestling.
Oh, Jesse.
There we go.
Okay. So,
sorry, guys. Technical difficulties.
Right. To wrap this up, because there's really these both Noah and Simply Noah and Noah G have already explained this. There was just no way for it to live up to the hype. But if you took it away, this was an excellent match. I will say excellent. This stole the show because no one had a lot of hope for this. Because just the name, the greatest wrestling match ever. Like, do you really need to stroke your ego that much? We get it. You beat WCW in 2001. And when Noah G, I'm gonna go back to you. You said Orton's been killing it for 9 years. I'm gonna say he's been killing it for 13 ever since he first got the WWE Championship in 2007. Now the question now is what's next for Orton, because Edge is now injured. He tore both his triceps, from what I heard.
Oh God.
We saw him beat up Christian on Raw, busting out the punt again. And what's just next for him?
This is a good subject. Oh my God. Does he go up against Drew? Because I think Drew has went on record and said that I want to work with Orton.
Correct.
And Orton is, and I'll give credit where credit is due, as much as like back in 2008 when he was shooting with Triple H, I loved to hate Orton. He was a phenomenal heel back then. So, and still to this day, I love to hate Randy Orton. But he's a phenomenal worker, and he can work with anybody. And that's why I was in love when he feuded with AJ Styles, because it was like the homegrown greatest of all time versus still the phenomenal one, but his fame and greatness came from the indies. And these are two guys who can really, really work with each other. Like, I fucking love that storyline. But anyway, I think with Randy, I think it's possible that in the coming weeks, because of what happened with Edge, because for me, what I see is because he kicked Christian in the head, the story continues and it never ends. Like, the crowd was chanting, "Fight forever," and they could be seeing another match at SummerSlam for all we know. I mean, Edge could be rehabbing the shit out of it as we speak. But I think honestly, we see this. Randy is going to be Drew's next opponent if it's not Bobby Lashley. They could have a Bobby Lashley and another Bobby and Drew match at the next pay-per-view, and then they can just spend the next few months to SummerSlam building up the rivalry between Orton and Drew, and maybe Drew loses to Randy and giving Randy another championship run, or Drew beats Randy and puts Drew even more over.
I mean, again, the possibilities are kind of out there right now as far as what's next for Randy Orton. But yeah, I think you nailed it. And the fact that Ric Flair seems to be back in Orton's corner, probably helping him on his run, similar to maybe what Triple H did with Ric Flair. Hopefully not, because we don't need a repeat of that. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, he's definitely got to be going after Drew McIntyre. But yeah, as far as this match goes, I definitely was already disconnected from it with the fact it had that hype tagline behind it. But for what the men had to deal with, and the fact was pre-recorded also, and for the story they told, and this is not the conventional length for a pay-per-view match by any means. This has got to be one of the longest non-gimmick pay-per-view matches I've seen, unless you count that tagline as a gimmick. So, yeah, mad respect to them. And honestly, I feel like it was really the match that took the show because of the story that was told. But you did not need the pipe-in sounds that made it look like I was literally holding my controller playing a WWE video game. That was my real biggest flop with this. And if it wasn't for Samoa Joe's commentary, I probably would have did it on mute and did my own commentary. Because Samoa Joe carried that match, bar none. Thank God.
Yeah.
But yeah,
did anybody see the clip where they realized that Samoa Joe's mouth wasn't moving, but the audio of his voice was still going?
Yeah, yeah. Just like a glitchy WWE 2K20 video game.
Right.
Still better than Corey Graves, though.
Really bad.
Yeah, there you go. Better than Corey Graves.
Well,
better than the electric chair.
Oh God. Hey, the smartest thing that came out of the electric chair is Sami Zayn saying AEW.
There you go. That was great.
But that being said, let's go ahead and just grade Backlash real quick. Let's see. Sloppy match, dominated WWE Championship. You don't care about tag team titles, but Randy Orton Edge, great story. Sheamus, Jeff Hardy, you're continuing that. The women, they really tried. I thought they brought it. And based on my expectations being so low, I'll be somewhat generous to those that really did try and make me enjoy the show. C+.
There you go. Okay. I would give it a C+ as well.
Jack?
If it wasn't for Nia Jax, I'd give it a B, but I have to give it a C just because that match dragged the show down. Now, for a filler pay-per-view, this was phenomenal, but I can't stand Nia Jax on my pay-per-views. So,
Alrighty.
All right, so now we move on to our next topic, and I will now lend you over to the actual host here. Go ahead, Noah G. What's next?
We're all the hosts at this point, Noah. Every single one of us. Every single one of this isn't a monarchy or a dictatorship. I'm going to say this right now. The Tomato Sauce Wrestling Show is open game. Everybody can bring their own sauce to the table. You know what I'm saying? So
what you're basically saying is this environment holds merit. It has a team type atmosphere. It has a welcome charm. Everyone's got a positive personality. You almost make it sound like AEW.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow, crazy.
Exactly. And what I love about this is being able to voice our opinions. But again, I'm just going to say it. I'm trying my best not to address myself as the host, and I may be putting the Zoom meets together, boys, but I'm not the host of the show. Let me put that out there. That being said, no, what I would really like to talk about now is the resurgence. I'm not going to say of tag team wrestling, but the legitimacy of tag team wrestling in AEW versus the failure to do so because it solely focuses solo stars in WWE. I think the reason why WWE's tag team division, both the men and the women, are failing is because it's solely focused on those stars that the fans are most behind, and putting on the good solo matches and the one-on-one matches and the one-on-one feuds. Whereas AEW, you have FTR, you have the Young Bucks, you have Private Party, you have Jurassic Express.
Keep going.
You have the Blade and the Butcher. You have all these teams that are so legit that we got more. Who am I missing?
Oh, let's see.
Best
Where do we
friends.
start? You got TH2, you got the Best Friends, you got the Dark Order, you got the Lucha Brothers, you got the Superbad Squad being formed now. You got another tag team possibly forming, and Sonny's Kiss and Joey Janela. You got the Natural Nightmares, and I still feel like I'm missing one or two more teams. SCU, and I still feel like I'm missing one or two more teams. Bottom line is that tag team wrestling is revived in AEW.
But time out. Wait a minute. Why doesn't this? How can we be okay with this? Okay with this in AEW, but yet just like an hour ago, Jack was like, well, I don't like it when they throw single stars together. That's who their tag team champions are right now, and Hangman Page and Kenny Omega.
To counter your point, they were a part of the Elite. They were a part of a faction, a stable. I'm okay with stables. I'm okay with stable members winning tag team gold because they are around each other all the time. Their chemistry is there. It's not like I'm taking Jungle Boy and teaming him with MJF. It's not like
God.
that.
That would be horrific.
That is what WWE is doing with their tag teams.
But
Bedfellows, I
to
get
your
you.
point though, there is an exception to this in WWE. Right now, they had the Undisputed Era with the tag team championships, and then they lost them to who beat them?
The
Yeah.
Broserweights, who had
Yeah,
been
the
teaming.
Broserweights, and then two solo stars who were they good as a tag team? The Broserweights.
Yes, I'd say they were.
They were
Okay,
a
yeah,
good
see,
team. I'm
They
not
were
gonna deny
entertaining,
that.
and they
Exception to your point, and then they got beat by. Okay,
got
then
beat by-
Pete Dunne had to go home to England, right?
Imperium.
Yeah, and then they got beat by
Mhm.
Imperium, a
Imperium.
tag team in a faction. Those are some good exceptions from WWE. So we're not going to completely shit on WWE and NXT. They're kind of doing it, tag team wrestling a bit of justice. But I would agree that in AEW, that's where all the tag teams are legit, and
Yes.
they have a legit tag team division. Now, here's the thing, because I've heard Tony Khan go on the record saying this, and they have now a mid card with the TNT Championship.
Correct.
And I've heard Tony Khan go on record on Stone Cold's podcast and say that he would like to establish a women's tag team division. They got a lot of work before we get there, because there's nothing but solo stars.
If we're talking about just the companies in general or creative directions of companies, I will say this: the women's division is still it is still the weakest front in AEW, and a lot of people hold slack to that for a couple of reasons. One, they did not know enough about the women. Two, they didn't think the women were getting enough time. Three, their first champion, they didn't think could be taken as seriously because she's less than 100 pounds. And four, the community threw a fit when their champion wasn't truly a woman the second time. But with that being said, we have more character development. Britt Baker has owned this heel character. Big Swole, it seems like she's really on the idea. I'm here to make a statement. Anybody that's got a problem with that, I'll punch you in the mouth. Clearly, we're setting up Britt Baker versus Big Swole. Penelope Ford, she's finally getting some momentum now, even if it's with help with her super bad fiance, as she legitimately did pin the women's champion 1, 2, 3. And who is the women's champion right now? Some people call the female Kenny Omega Hikaru Shida. Now, when you put that moniker, though, I feel like you kind of do set yourself up in a corner, because when it comes to Kenny Omega, he's going to carry who's in the ring with, and Shida does that to a fact, but I don't think there's enough in that division for Shida to really own that idea of she's the Kenny Omega. The women's division, AEW, needs more depth, and I feel like AEW Dark, which, gentlemen, I am looking at right now, and I see these women matches, is trying to develop to a degree. Now, looking at WWE, though, when it comes to their women's division or divisions, clearly I think the strongest is obviously NXT, because you have the most depth there with the individual.
Rhea Ripley, baby.
Yeah, Rhea Ripley right now carried that division for the longest
Jack,
time.
I see the look on Jack's face. Jack was like, he was referencing the match that he had with Charlotte at Mania, and he thought it wasn't that good. I mean, personally, it's like
Really?
I didn't
between
like
Rhea
it.
Ripley and Charlotte. Here's where it comes to the debate. Because personally, I like the Rhea and Charlotte match. Jack,
It was one of the best actual matches, not cinematic, in the entire two-night WrestleMania card. And
here's what I don't like about it. It was one of the first matches. And two, the wrong person won. Why didn't Rhea win?
Because
Why
they're
couldn't Rhea
trying
win?
to suffer with Charlotte to boost ratings.
You don't need Charlotte on NXT. You don't need Charlotte on all three brands.
I agree. And again, that short stint, it did work. So the ratings still went. But the bottom line is this. Charlotte's put this idea. I'm the hardest worker. I work harder than anybody. I could own all three of these brands if I wanted to. And that was kind of the idea. But also she was like, everybody I'm in the ring with, I make them better. But nobody beats the queen. And so finally we had freaking Io Shirai finally ascend at NXT TakeOver in Your House. And I called it. But yeah, going back to, I basically could just say creative direction. Tag team wrestling is owned by AEW with the fact they're doing so much with actual teams, even if it is teams out of a stable. Because again, you have that chemistry, that communication, activity. It's not like Strange Bedfellows like Team Hell No, which was hilarious, I will say that. Or the Broserweight short stint with Pete Dunne and Matt Riddle, where Matt Riddle carried the comedy. Pete Dunne, he never broke character. He was literally the guy that the closest he came to humoring you was saying, I'm going to be blunt. And we all know what that meant.
That was a reference to Matt Riddle's UFC days.
Exactly. And it wasn't the only one where he referred to something involving smoke. But with that being said, as far as the women's division goes, there you go. Yeah, NXT leads that, but AEW is trying with theirs, and I'll give them that. But let's go ahead and think about something else, like the morale or the creative freedom or direction. AEW apparently is unscripted, okay? The people have their own way, but AEW has this expectation. That's all they want, an expectation. Where in WWE, they expect you be like this or you're going nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
Right, exactly. And I think the big thing that AEW has going for it is that exactly. But at the same time, there's the opportunity, like, and I've heard several AEW, like I think maybe it was Chris Jericho that went on record and says, in WWE, they give you no opportunity to fail. So they try and cover up all the opportunities for you to mess up and make a mistake with,
Right.
Oh, you don't need to come up with your own promos. We got writers for that. Oh, you don't need to like worry about what you're gonna wear because we have costume guys for that. You don't have to worry about all this stuff because we got it taken care of for you. And I'm like, it's why all these guys have left, because it sucks all the creativity out of you. I mean, you think about and it brings me back to what Ric Flair said about WCW back in the day. It sucked his passion out of him to the point where he had no self-confidence coming back to WWE. And he had to find his way back with Triple H being an evolution. Like, in AEW, it's more fun, which is why, like, I would go, like, if I was in the shoes that I would want to be, like, as a manager, or as creative, just trying to put stables together, or just trying to be a manager like MVP is doing right now, or, doing these type of things, trying to just throw all my ideas out. If they're not taking any of them, I'm gonna be like, okay, well, I have creative control in the last 30 days of my contract. So you know what? I'm gonna go out on live TV, even if it's quarantined with no audience, and I'm going to say whatever the hell I want. And then I'm gonna leave and go to AEW where they're having much more fun. The polar opposite difference is in WWE, it's most of the time it's a dictatorship and a monarchy, where you're answering to Vince, who is the king. You have Triple H and Stephanie, who are his princess and prince, and then you have all the dukes and duchesses and creative underneath him. And you have to answer to all these people in a timely fashion, and you have to either say yes or no to everything they say. In AEW, yeah, Tony Khan runs the company, but at the same time, you have to bring your own ideas to the table and be creative, and you get to have fun. That's the main difference here. It's a contribution in AEW. You carry your own weight, and if it fails, it's on you. If you succeed, the fame and success is on you. Look at MJF right now. Do you think he would be able to have the success he's having right now in WWE? Hell no, because the man can't take any orders from anybody. You can't go up to MJF and tell him what to say. You can't. So I mean, I don't know. To me, it's I'm seeing a clear-cut polar opposite difference in the companies and the styles and creative, because the guys are coming up with their own stuff. I mean, hell, you have Cody Rhodes, a full-time talent who's running things behind the scenes. Kenny Omega, full-time talent running things behind the scenes. Young Bucks, full-time talent running things behind the scenes, because it's run by the guys who are in the ring. You don't have that in WWE, with the exception of Triple H. But I mean, then again, he comes out every once in a blue moon. So I don't know. To me, there's a really clear-cut difference because of that, but it's night and day.
Yeah.
But
I just see WWE as an audience for one, while AEW is for everybody. Like Cody said, we own pro wrestling. When he says we, he means absolutely everybody. And it's not like he's trying to be a Jeff Jarrett or an Eric Bischoff to like really put himself at the forefront. Tony Khan's not even an on-screen character. Just saying. It's a night and day, like you said. Also, it probably feels easier the fact they only have to do one show a week, while this man tries to stretch the WWE brand as thin as hair itself to put on everything, to the point you have something WWE 7 days a week. The product feels oversaturated, and you have that disconnection with the fans just because you're trying to connect with everybody, even if it's only 5 minutes a week.
Right.
Jack?
Yeah. I feel like we're seeing a repeat of WCW and WWE, possibly. And I feel like WWE is going to be on the losing side. Do I think that'll actually happen? No, but it's a possibility. I will say no one's very happy working with WWE right now. It's more of a job than it is doing what you want to do. doing
Exactly.
what you're passionate about. And I said this earlier tonight. If you don't have passion for the business, then you don't deserve to be in the business. And for some, like maybe it's Nia Jax. Maybe if she went to AEW, she wouldn't be hurting people as much, although I doubt it.
Can you imagine the match between Nia Jax and Nyla Rose? My God.
I don't want to see it. Don't want to see it. I'm
They
not
would
interested
kill
in it.
each other.
Yeah.
They'd kill each other, literally.
Yeah.
That would
Okay,
be the
wait.
next-
I'm gonna put you on the spot here. Put you on the spot. Who's the better wrestler, Nyla Rose or Nia Jax? Jack, you first.
Oh, why do you have to do this to me? Pass. I don't want to answer that.
Oh, you!
I would have to give it to Nyla Rose.
If I have to pick, it's Nyla Rose. But if Nia Jax was the same NXT wrestler she was, I'd say Nia Jax. But we wouldn't
What
be
would
having this
Nyla?
conversation.
Here's a better question for you, Jack. What would Nia or Jax have to do for you to forgive her?
Ooh.
Shit. Maybe go back to NXT and train.
That's
Go
exactly
to the
what I
performance
said.
center. Go to the performance
said
center.
Okay. Go back
Yeah,
to
I
the
know you
performance
said that.
center.
You said what would it take? Go to the performance center. Do drills. Learn how to fucking not break someone's back. Learn that, hey, you're a little bit bigger. You're facing people that are like 100 pounds, maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less. So don't
Right.
fucking kill them.
Right.
Don't injure them. Our
There are
roster's
things
already
that
spread
she's doing
thin.
intentionally because she doesn't care, but at the same time, you have to also leave in the. I'm not trying. If you think that I'm like, I don't know what the word to say is. If I'm condoning Nia in the ring, I'm not. But at the same time, accidents do happen. We've seen plenty of injuries, and even a death happen in the ring.
Yes.
You know, like
Don't
accidents
remind me.
happen. All accidents happen in the ring. So I mean,
They do. But when it becomes consistent and it's the same performer,
Right.
you have to wonder if they're accidents or not. And I don't think they're accidents. I think she's
Goldberg
just swapped.
injured and ended the career of Bret Hart. Say no more.
That wasn't an accident. That was literally Goldberg being
Brett literally
fucking
said, "Don't."
stupid
And he
Ed.
almost
Brett literally said, "Don't hurt me."
broke Undertaker's
Yes.
neck at Country. Right there.
God.
Exactly.
Well, I also think about like this. When I was looking at Shop Brandon, John Moxley's like Kenny Omega. He's my rival, but he's also my teammate. Joey Janela, he's my rival, but he's also my teammate. It's a team effort there where everybody's out there for one another, not just out there for themselves. And I feel like for some of the younger talent in WWE, they are out there for one another, but you still have this, like you said, dictatorship mentality, honest of one, where more so the older veteran is always going to be over the current, younger, hungry star of today. Hence EC3, the fact that he, for the longest time,
Where is he?
Well, after the North American title match at freaking, NXT TakeOver New Orleans, we actually came out full and energy, and then he went up to main roster like, nah, at main event. I think he was finally released. He's on a 90-day no wrestling clause.
My God. Okay, so wait a minute. Before, kind of going back to what we were talking about earlier. So, here's the thing. I think there's a real benefit for when they actually get time, the two people in a one-on-one match, get time prior to the match to plan out what they want to do. Prime example. WrestleMania, I think it was like WrestleMania, it was one of the three WrestleManias they did between The Rock and Austin. Like Stone Cold still tells a story about they like went out to eat, like had a nice meal, drank wine, and literally talked about what they wanted to do. Like, and I think there's a real benefit to that. I think if they spent time, if they had the time to spend like that, that could happen. I think with Nia Jax, I agree with Jack's point from earlier. I think she should go back to the Performance Center, go back to NXT maybe, and hopefully work. And maybe there's somebody that comes along who's just as quote unquote dominant as she is that she can work up against and, learn. Because I think she's basically turned the light switch off when it comes to, I'm Nia Jax, I don't need to learn anything.
And that's the mentality, I feel like, of most of the WWE locker room.
Yep.
I don't know. I don't know I think the NXT guys and gals had a buffet Sunday night with that Edge and Randy Orton match. They had a buffet in storytelling. So if they don't know, but I think there's also a part of it, and we're going to get back to the creative side of things, where they're not being given the opportunities. Nope. They're not being given the opportunities to possibly mess up. They're not being given the opportunities with the screenwriters and the script writers to be like, say whatever you want. Like Stone Cold tells it all the time. Like he wishes and hopes, and I'm in the same camp where it's like they need to go back to the days where they're like, so and so is going to cut a promo on you, listen and respond accordingly. They don't do that anymore. They're like script, and it's
input
like,
this next person coming out. Input this next person coming out. Input this next person coming out. Boom, tag match, pointless.
And we're displeased as it by fans because it's not entertaining to us.
It's lazy.
It is. And again, we're fans of pro wrestling, but we're also fans of sports entertainment, but you need a proper balance of the two. And one style of sports entertainment versus what we're known for just don't work. AEW, however, revives that style that we do love in their own way. And maybe it's also because it's TV-14 versus PG-13, but that's a whole nother business discussion. But let's talk about some creative angles. We had the retcon urine test angle from this past Friday night on SmackDown. And then we had Orange Cassidy juiced and pulped with blood oranges by Chris Jericho. Now, which one you think was more entertaining and more creative? AEW
Orange
or
Cassidy.
WWE?
AEW.
AEW.
Enough said.
You just said Orange Cassidy, and that was it. That's all I need to hear.
Can we acknowledge the fact that there was back in the day, like back in like Jon Moxley, like beta when he like first showed up at Double or Nothing, which blew AEW, like skyrocketed AEW, by the way, when Jon Moxley
it's like
shows
a serious
up.
name, exactly.
Exactly, and there's the segment with him in the locker room with Joey Janela and Joey smoking a cigarette, and then Moxley just comes out, takes the cigarette from like I think Janela like offered it to him, and Moxley just goes and just like flicks it at him, and then you have a rivalry between them. Like you just have a match the next night on the first night of Dynamite or whatever. You know, like they're giving so much freedom to these guys. And they're having so much fun. And like I said earlier, if they try to handcuff me in WWE, I'd be just like, screw you guys. I'm waiting out to the end of my contract.
Jon Moxley literally said in an interview, I'd rather work at McDonald's than work as a producer in WWE.
Wait, who said this?
John Moxley.
Good old Jon Moxley.
No.
And
then Moxley is asked about what the interaction with Vince was like. Is the Jedi mind trick that Vince likes to put on people, where it's like you're about to walk into the office and you're like, I'm gonna tell him what I think, and then Vince lays out his idea with you, and you're like, he's a genius, and then afterwards you're like, wait, damn it, I fell for it again. Shit.
I mean, to be again. The man believes he's a freaking god, okay? He lost Side of Reality and, oh, man, what year was it? Was it after he went up Big Show's ass? I don't know.
No, the way that Vince fell downhill was after he bought WCW. Since that point, it's been slow, but it's been a slow downhill from there because we had the Ruthless Aggression era. Yep. You know, there were several things that I think they wanted to avoid. There were several things that happened in wrestling, i.e. certain people dying, i.e., several accidents were happening, national tragedies such as 9/11. Like, there were so many things that impacted the business. The Rock going Hollywood.
Yeah.
You could go CM Punk getting the opportunity to become one of the greatest stars of recent memory with that 434 title run. There are things that changed the business. But I think, you can't just label it on one thing and say this is the reason why Vince McMahon has made WWE what it says.
You kind of can.
Jack, what is it?
June 24th or 25th, 2007. That's all I'm going to say.
And what is that?
You already know what that is. We've talked about this before.
No, I don't. Personally,
We've talked about this before, big fella. A certain someone killed his wife and kids, then himself.
Okay, yeah, now I know what you're talking about. That was 2000.
A name that shall not be mentioned on this forum.
I have plans to make a nice episode about that and my little hot take on that, but we're saving that.
If we want to do a reference of it. Noah, question for you. Have you seen any episodes of Dark Side of the Ring?
Dark Side of the Ring.
Yes.
Only the name that will not be mentioned, because when I look at the quarantine times right now, everything in wrestling outside of actually watching wrestling when it's on has been documentaries. More so, the documentary I've been focused on the most is Undertaker's last ride, which brings me to this point. You've all probably seen that series as well. We all saw how Shawn Michaels, he had that exit. We all saw how Undertaker, he didn't really like Shawn Michaels, but he could not dispute the fact Shawn Michaels knew how to work in the ring. When you think about today's chemistry of wrestlers and opponents, is it more so a better story when you actually like somebody you work with or don't like somebody that you're working with? And in your opinion, do you think that more carries over in today's business, and on which side? Jack, I'll start with you on that.
I gotta say, if you like someone, you probably will be like, okay, whatever we do, we're gonna enjoy it. If you don't like someone, you're gonna work a lot harder to outdo that person. You want to outprove yourself. You want to say, I don't like this guy. I don't want to be ahead of me. I want to be the guy. I want to be the man, so to say. And that really brings another element of intensity, just hatred. It's like if they're feuding, it's like they want to knock each other senseless, and it's enjoyable to watch. Now, I'm not saying that Triple H versus Shawn Michaels was bad, because they're both really good friends and they always one-upped each other. However, that's kind of the rule, the exception to the rule. Usually for me, I'm more interested, say Jon Moxley, he hates MJF legitimately, and they start doing a feud. I'm invested in that. I'm 100% invested in that, because they're both going to work to outdo one another.
You might as well just say what we actually saw this year. MJF versus Cody in one of the highest rated segments that wasn't a match, the 10 Lashes.
Yes.
That main evented a Dynamite. Might I add, by the way, Dynamite sometimes, they're putting on pay-per-view caliber matches and shows.
For free.
With title matches.
For free. And as you said, we'll dig that, because it just shows like these guys actually hate each other. These guys cannot stand one another. Now, if we're seeing another Triple H versus Shawn Michaels, which we probably never will, we'll still watch it, but it won't be the same, say, as 2002 when Shawn came back and someone might have actually believed that they didn't like each other.
Right.
We all know this isn't true. We all know they're still buddy-buddy, but it was an interesting dynamic. MJF versus Cody, though, the hatred was real. We could feel it. Like, dude,
cost him the title Full Gear. I did this for my friend. Fuck you, low blow.
But to me, it seems like it's still, and this goes back to the conversation we had, I think it was last week or 2 weeks
about
ago.
kayfabe.
Yeah, exactly. Where it's like, I think in AEW, kayfabe is real, because MJF and Cody could still be buddies, for all we know, behind closed doors. Probably they're all still buddies, because they were. I mean, everybody's probably buddy with each other backstage.
I've heard on Unrestricted, though, again, that mentality backstage, what you see out there is what is backstage. Like, again, Kip Sabian and Penelope Ford, they are together. Shawn Spears, Tully, they're always together. They're talking strategy. Arn and Cody, they're always together. MJF, he's always off.
Jake the Snake and
Lance.
Yep.
Taz and Brian Cage.
I love that. It's so
managers, by the way.
Kayfabe may be the one thing that WWE is missing, and I think they might want to try and implement it back in to compete with AEW.
But then again, but at the same time, I think WWE, unfortunately, for me, it's hard to judge whether or not WWE's mentality is we're the machine, we're the billion-dollar company. Why do we need?
We have to dominate everything. Global.
Why do we have to compete? Why do we have to compete with AEW right now? And AEW is also giving up this vibe is we're not even Tony Khan has even said on record that like our objective is not to compete with WWE. Our objective is to put on our own product. Now, us as fans, we're the ones that are saying which one is superior.
Some of us are.
So we are making the war. The fans are making the war, and then there's some people taking it way out of hand. I'm not just talking about wrestling dirt sheets here that strictly go off the ratings number. This match did better, or this person said this on Twitter, or this mark's working this mark, etc. I simulcast live both shows every week. I simply am just a fan of wrestling, and NXT and AEW are the best products every week. Period. Now that I got NJPW back, though, I got my third best product of the week, but that's another story. But the bottom line is this. As a fan today of wrestling, just find something and go with it. Why does it have to be a competition about this is better and I'm going to show you why? Tony Khan doesn't believe in that. Cody doesn't believe in that. I like to think Triple H maybe doesn't believe in that, but again, he does work with Vince McMahon. And again, they want to do this idea of global organization to the point they want to do NXT Japan.
They've wanted to do NXT Japan, India.
Triple H has had a death desire to acquire Kazuchika Okada. And Okada literally on his documentary said this. He did not want to work under these companies here in America because here it's just about entertainment, who's the most over character. Over there, it's about professional wrestling, who is the best pro wrestler, and how can we bring pro wrestling to the forefront. And that's why I respect the Rainmaker and NJPW so much.
Well said. Well said.
One of the things that I referenced this, and I want to talk about this briefly.
Please.
Because Jack knows from experience that I am a mouthpiece manager. I'm a man whose basically sole purpose is to make other talent, make the wrestlers look good, to talk all the shit, and get my ass whipped.
Well, except for the couple matches you had.
We won't talk. Those are under lock and key. They're under private. They're never seeing the light of fucking
No, they're not.
day.
They're not under private, bro.
Yes,
you can
they
look
are.
them. No, they're not.
Yes, they are. They are now. Anyway, what I think another thing, AEW is doing better than WWE. The managers, my God. Like they're doing all the guys, they're doing great manager. Like even with MJF and Wardlow, like Wardlow is a talent, and he's managing MJF to a good degree. No, he's not a manager. He's a heater.
He's a bodyguard.
He's a heater.
Yep.
The world's largest ring bearer, as good old JR says.
And there's going to be a split from that. By the way, last time I saw MJ, I'm going to kind of go on a side tangent here.
Oh, no.
Last time I saw MJF in the ring, it was like that tag team battle royal that was going on. Homeboy looked like a straight string bean. My God, what does this man have that he can brag his ass off about it? Like what an ego on this, what a mouth on this guy MJF, who apparently is apparently great in the ring. But
MJF versus Jungle Boy, Double or Nothing. Go watch that match. If you've never heard these two, ladies and gentlemen, you will not be disappointed, as some compared this to as good as a match as Ricky the Dragon Steamboat versus Ric Flair. Enough said.
But the point I was just trying to shoot some shots against
MJF
there. Homeboy was looking like a straight string bean, looking like he hadn't seen the gym, all quarantine. Anyway. The point I was trying to make is like AEW is making managers look legit because you have Tully Blanchard, one of the four horsemen. You have Jake the Snake Roberts. You have Arn Anderson, another one of the four horsemen. You have even the ladies with Bunny, with Bladen Butcher. You have who was the one that you said was married to Kip Sabian?
Penelope Ford.
I think managers have a legit role in AEW even, which is fantastic. And you don't have that in WWE because what the manager is supposed to do, maybe cut a little 10-minute, like maybe less than 5-minute promo. You show the camera angles of them with their hands on the bottom of the ring, just like observing everything that's going on. And if they lose, you look disappointed. If they win, you're happy. Like, it's just like, it's so routine over there. And it's just like, you have to do things a certain way. And in AEW, there's much more freedom, and that's and as far as I know, gentlemen, the AEW is the promised land for all talent.
Yeah, and right now AEW, it just keeps and let's think about this. The AEW brand literally just hit its 1-year anniversary, but AEW Dynamite is not even 1 year old yet, and they got their biggest supercard coming up in freaking September, All Out, and who knows what sort of surprises await us there? Who else might show up? And we've seen how many people who's gone to here from another company have really reinvented themselves. But I will say this. I'm not just saying that the things to look out for is NXT and WWE and AEW. There's other stuff out there, too, that's doing their own thing, trying something different. Impact Wrestling, I feel like, is finally trying to remove the stunk from their past with the way they're trying to, reinvent their knockouts division and their men's division. And it does seem more wrestler focused versus manager focused, which is a huge plus. I have no idea where Ring of Honor goes from here, but I know Marty Scott had big plans for the company. So hopefully when the world gets back to normal, whenever that might be, things might liven up there too. But bottom line is this. I'm just going to say this, guys. I believe WWE is not too big to fail, and it's slowly unraveling from the inside right now as we speak.
Yeah. I will
agree with
say,
that.
you bringing up Impact Wrestling makes me very happy.
Oh, please
I
tell.
will say, their women's division kicks the shit out of WWE and AEW.
You're damn right.
Absolutely
I have to agree.
does. You have credible talent. You got Jessica Havoc. You have Kimberly.
Jordan Grace.
Jordan Grace.
girl.
Taya Valkyrie.
Deonna Purrazzo.
That name was, I was tongue twisted with that name. I'm
That's
sorry. I got stuck a little bit, but
all right. And Gail Kim,
Tessa,
by the way, is still working behind the scenes with
Yes.
them too. And she's a freaking Hall of Famer.
She's a Hall of Fame. It's blowing it out of the water. And
Wait, who's behind the scenes in Impact?
Gail Kim.
Gail
Is
Kim.
behind an Impact, and
yeah.
I'm impressed with what they're doing. And how can we say the women of Impact without saying Tessa Blanchard?
Oh man, dude.
I'm very happy. I'm excited that they're allowing women to compete for the World Championship match for a world title. I don't find her believable, though, in a roster filled with Michael Elgin's, Sami Callihan's,
Eddie Edwards. And of course, Ace Austin now,
Yes.
who cost her the X Division title back at Bound for Glory.
And don't even get me started on Impact's tag team roster, or what was their tag team roster.
Team
The
Unstoppable.
North. It's incredible. We're saying this, and we're not talking about them as a possible third company to watch out for.
And
They
that's why I
could
wanted
be
to
in
bring
a
it up.
renaissance.
I know this forum primarily focuses on, look at what we're wearing, okay? You're wearing WWE. He's wearing being the elite. He is AEW. I'm all companies, but I'm repping freaking NJPW.
Yep. I feel like we really need to start paying attention to Impact now again. They
I
could.
agree. I've been paying
They
attention
could.
to them much.
I think
They're the
was-
dark horse.
But then somebody could say the same thing about what do you call it? Fuck, who am I thinking of?
Ring of Honor?
No, not Ring of Honor.
MLW. NWA.
Well, yes, MLW, because Jack, our boy Myron Reed, is the world champion right now.
No, is he the world champion right now?
Yes.
I thought he was the middleweight.
So
heavyweight champion.
Myron Reed,
I saw him.
the bad
Reed.
Reed. So Noah, this is a little bit of a history lesson. Before he was who he is now, Homeboy was just a backyard wrestler, and he worked his way up to being MLW's world champion right now with Injustice. And we knew him, and we met him. I mean, like, the fact that he knows somebody who could possibly make it to the big time is insane.
Mm-hmm.
I saw him in one wrestling match, Sport Pride Wrestling, folks. That's at the heart of all of this. When I had a promotion here called Chaos Wrestling, he had a very good match. Had a lot of promise and talent. It was the first time ever that I saw him.
Very good.
If I may, we've known Myron for a very long time. I'm saying back in like 2014, 2013 even. The fact that he has A, released an album that is on Spotify, and B, he now has a Wikipedia page. Our boy is so close to making it. I cannot wait to see what he's doing. If I see him pull up an Impact and be part of the Rascals, I wouldn't be upset about that. If he pulls up an AEW and is Hot Fire Myron Reed, I wouldn't be upset with that. If he pulled up to WWE with a randomly generated name, I might be a little upset with that, but it'd be all right. I'm sure he can make something
Don't go to WWE, Myron.
Let me say this. Darby Allin knew the writing on the wall if he went to WWE. He would have been literally ceiling in the cruiserweight division only. And while the cruiserweight division holds a lot of promise, they will never go anywhere in WWE, while NJPW has junior heavyweights battling heavyweights for friggin' world championships.
It says a lot when your top cruiserweight guy in WWE is Enzo Amore.
Don't even mention that name. That caused an awkward silence because
don't get me started.
What's
past is past.
Hey, I want to stay as far away from that as possible.
I think here, but I want to bring it back a little bit, gentlemen. So this is something that I feel like we can possibly, if we want to end, we can end it on this note. When it comes to world champions in WWE and AEW, between Drew McIntyre and Jon Moxley, who would you say is more over right
Oh, jeez.
Noah, I'll start with you on that one.
Ah, jeez. Ever since he won it back against Chris Jericho at AEW Revolution and said this title is for you, the fans. And he had the look, if
Hey,
you're just looking
he's
at
like,
who's
hey,
over,
what the fuck?
if you're looking at who's over right now the most, you gotta go, I think, with the one that probably had the longer reign and the deeper story. While Drew McIntyre, he was frustrated in this just the beginning of the year and just from the Royal Rumble. So looking at long-term booking and, of course, the energy driven behind it, too, not just because, he filed a quarantine. I got to go right now with Jon Moxley. I feel like there's still more momentum right now with him. I feel like more people are truly behind him becoming champion. Everybody want anybody besides Brock Lesnar to be WWE champion. But Jon Moxley, he brought us along on this journey where he was fighting for us with only one eye and outsmarting Le Champion in an incredible main event match at AEW Revolution. And looking at his run right now against Roy Lee, and that was a crazy match, and Jake Hager, and the fact he's facing Brian Cage pretty soon too. And the man's basically about, you're trying to prove that you can do better than me in this sport. That pisses me off. I'm going to be more violent against you. But Drew McIntyre, he's all about bringing the best out of everybody, it seems, but also proving why he deserves to be the top company guy. Looking at just the longer picture here overall, I got to go with Jon Moxley. But if you add NJPW, I'm not going to say anything else besides Kazuchika Okada, even though he's not champion right now.
Right.
I will respectfully disagree with and the simple reason behind it is the Drew McIntyre buildup was 11 years in the making. Not a few months, 11 years. When you are brought in, and the first thing out of the on-screen chairman of the board is, this is the chosen one, and you have these high expectations, you're going to be a future world heavyweight champion, and then it doesn't happen. Then you get released. Then you come back 2017, you win the NXT championship, you come up on Raw in 2018, and then 2 years later, you win the Royal Rumble, boom, you're WWE champion. I love Jon Moxley. I love all the work he's doing. I love the matches that he had with Chris Jericho, the match that he had with Brody Lee. Phenomenal. However, to me, Drew McIntyre will be more over simply because of the decade-long journey we were on to finally see this chosen one finally get what he was branded to get, a world championship. So for me, Drew McIntyre.
I think that's fair because you're right. They did bring that up briefly during the road to WrestleMania about, I've been doing this all these years. It sucked when I got released. You're right. He is a Renaissance man. So from that super long booking standpoint, because I was just looking at, the way it was just brought into now, but the fact that they did bring up that history, you do bring up a valid point. But again, I was looking more so at just, the short run creative booking, it seemed, and the way that it kind of was brought to be. Okay. So, okay. And again, I think there's fair points with both of our arguments, though, here. But bottom line is this. Both these companies have incredible champions. But let me just ask you all this.
Yep.
Looking at the companies as a whole, okay, and you can put any company you want in this. We got the NWA, we got Impact, AEW,
Ring of Honor,
Wrestling, Ring of Honor. We got WWE. We got NXT, which I feel like is its own individual thing because when you figure out WWE, they got like 4 rosters of champions. Because
please God, let not Vince McMahon get too involved in NXT and just make it Triple H's thing for the love of God.
Well, apparently Vince is not happy with NXT's direction, so I think the worst is yet to come, and that's when you truly know the end is near for all things we love in WWE as wrestling fans. But let me just ask you all this: whether you pick a brand or just a particular company as a whole, what roster has the best roster of champions right now?
Man, oh man, that's tough. A part of me wants to say WWE because they have more titles, so obviously they're going to have more talented champions. However, quality does come over quantity. For me, I'm enjoying Impact and AEW. It's very split. I like Jon Moxley more than Tessa Blanchard, but I do like Willie Mack more than Cody. I think both their tag team divisions are stacked, and I think Impact's women's championship.
That you got there, Noah. Show
AEW wallpaper.
Put that up there. Here, show it up there. Come on, put it up there. Oh.
Yeah, roster champions right there.
Yeah, there you go.
I do like that, but I feel like Impact has so much more potential. I feel like there's so much more promise, and there's so much more that they can do. That if they chose to, they could do it. But I'm so split on this.
And again, when you pick the WWE as a whole, I'm just figuring like maybe you pick like one of the 4 brands because you got roster champions on Raw, SmackDown, NXT, and even though they're not wrestling, NXT UK. So that's even more to think about. If you
that's
pick
still
one
a thing. Man, I just feel like Impact just has so much more like potential and promise than WWE's product right now. I will say Drew is a phenomenal WWE champion. I will say I don't know why Otis is Money in the Bank, Mr. Money in the Bank. I don't know why WWE still has a women tag team division, tag team belts to tag team titles in WWE. Actually, we have 4 between 4 separate brands. I don't know why they have that. I think between the 2 big companies right now, between AEW and WWE, it goes to AEW because, as I said earlier, quality over quantity.
Right, and that's kind of my thinking too, especially when I look at the way that these champions are really showcasing these titles, putting themselves to the test, and look at how many times the freaking AEW Tag Team Championships are being defended on the road to Fyter Fest. We already got a #1 contendership match. It's like you're going to fight for your spot to prove why you are the champions, not just because you are the champions. It's like more of a proving point versus just a big gold prop around your waist or shoulder. It actually matters that you have this, and people want to fight for it. When I think you're a champion, people should be gunning for you. You shouldn't just be waiting on the next challenger for you. And I feel like AEW brings that. While you say Impact Wrestling has a lot of potential, it seems more so that there's some championships that are more sought after. And right now it kind of feels like the Impact World Championship's the most sought after by both men and women. It's because Tessa Blanchard owns it. And the fact she's going up against 4 other men in a 5-way dance elimination for this title, it could really lead to the fact that, 1, Tessa Blanchard's run might be done, and she might be heading somewhere else because her contract's up soon.
Right. What I'd like to see is Jordan Grace get in the ring and take that world title, and then we have Jordan 2 belts. Honestly, I think it could happen. Anywho, that girl can wrestle men just as well as Tessa can.
I agree with you there, but
but anyway, Noah, before I do a $50 follow win best nice money, what roster or brand do you think has the best champions?
I would have to go with what Jack said, and I would have to go. But see, here's the thing.
Please,
people are going to give me plenty of shit for this on the internet. If they, when people are going to be people.
Go for it.
Noah, Jack. The thing is, with me, I'm mostly tuning into WWE and AEW every Wednesday night because I'm literally flipping back and forth on the channels each and every Wednesday night to compare both shows at the exact same goddamn time. Like the first clip of Ring of Honor I saw in years was just like a couple weeks ago, and it was like a repeat show, so I'm not tuning into I'm keeping kind of in touch with who's the champions in Impact and who's the champions in Ring of Honor and all that. And in New Japan. But the thing is, it's in between, but I'm going to keep it because what I'm mostly exposing myself to and what I'm mostly tuning into the most is AEW and NXT. So between those, but I'm not talking about WWE. I'm talking NXT and I'm talking AEW. So between NXT and AEW, because let's run down the lineup. In NXT, you have Adam Cole, baby, and you have Keith Lee. You have the tag team champs of Imperium. You have the women's champion Io Shirai.
Correct.
Then you have Jon Moxley. You have the tag team champs of Hangman Adam Page and Kenny Omega, and the women's champ. I'm sorry, it's not
Hikaru Shida.
Say it one more time.
Hikaru Shida.
Shida, right? So the thing is,
and the TNT champion, because again, you said they haven't been.
And Cody Rhodes is the TNT champion.
Only Cody, not Rhodes. Cody.
No Rhodes, just
Cody. So with that being said, I would have to say I give it to NXT on that one. Because as much as I love all the champions in AEW, with that I think there's more potential, and there's more. To me, NXT has more of the chase for the title and chase for the prestige of being champion than AEW does. Not to say because I feel like AEW has, as much as I love AEW, they have more work to do when it comes to building up titles. Because of them being just a year out, whereas NXT has been a around for a while, and the NXT title has become
10
so
years.
prestigious because of Adam Cole's title run. You know,
Right.
Keith Lee being the North American champion, becoming this guy who is, you know, can be beaten down by a Johnny Gargano, but yet still pull off a victory. You know, with the women's championship being won by Io. You know, like, to me, it's like they've done a great job of building up the chase for the title. And that's what I appreciate about NXT right now. So when it comes to the champions, I had to give it to NXT.
Okay,
And
so
but you have to give me, but I asked for the benefit of the doubt because I'm not so in tune of what's going on with Impact and Ring of Honor.
well, that's the thing. We're all 3 different individual wrestling fans. I mean, look at my freaking room, okay?
Yeah,
Simple as
really.
that. With that being
You've got
said, when I
Fort
think about,
Knox
like
in
I
the
said,
background.
thank you. When I think about, you know, the champions, the prestige, the chase, the potential challengers, and leniency, some of those things go out the window with the fact AEW is so open. Right now, I do love the setup of AEW's champions. And Jon Moxley, he's been a very strong fighting champion. Kenny Omega, him and Adam Page, they are leading this tag team division like no tomorrow. Still in the show, it seems, every week when they're in a tag team match, but not necessarily from everybody else. Because, again, you're not just literally locked in a spot. You prove why you are the spot to watch in AEW. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, the women's now have a real leading champion. I feel like for herself. I'm not just saying that she has a YouTube channel. So I do like AEW's champions, and I like the fact that Cody's using this title not only as his maximum, but more so the fact he's going to use it to show what everybody can do, singles or attacks. In his freaking 2 defenses so far, you've seen 2 very different matches, okay? Neither of them have felt the same. You had the furious, old-school type mentality match, back and forth, with Jungle Boy. And then last week, you had a much more one-sided match that showed how Mark Quan can shine as a singles competitor, but also how he can fight from under as he was fighting off an injury for probably the whole thing. Only for Cody to use old-school wrestling mentality to get him with, instead of the crossroads for a pinfall, he got him with a submissions hold. With that being said, though, let's go ahead into this. And yeah, my answer is AEW. But again, I feel like a lot of the rosters right now have really good champions you can get behind in wrestling today. And a lot of them can be taken pretty seriously. But let me ask you all this. When it comes to
hey, Noah, I don't mean to cut you off, but I want to tell you guys something. We've been going for over 2 hours. I don't know if you guys have noticed.
You know what you know what you need.
I hate to be the asshole that tries to cut it off.
You need that horn like from Millionaire before I got canceled. I go, when you want to just call it, because yeah, I think bottom line is this: we appreciate wrestlers that are fighting champions with a lot of people to grab their titles. Simple as that.
This has got to be Noah. This is the last one. I'm calling it right now. I'm not, like I mentioned earlier, I'm not the host, but we've been going for a million miles an hour.
Yeah.
We got to keep these people wanting more because we got to keep giving them content, and we got to keep giving them wanting more episodes. So
sound like Hiromu. Sound like Hiromu. Mota. It's Japanese for more people.
Exactly. What was it? Noah, wrap it up. What was that last question you got there?
Best mid-card champion.
Oh, best mid-card champion?
Oh,
Easy.
like of all time ever?
Easy.
Ever.
Ever? All right. Shit.
God damn it.
Champion ever.
All right. I kind of have one, but Jack, you go first.
I'm going to go to a time before time existed. This was back in 2007, 2008. I'm going to go with Jeff Hardy as Intercontinental Champion.
Wow.
Because that was when this was when I first picked up wrestling. So I'm like 10, 11 years old. I see this guy. He's got the tank top on. He's got that the baggy jeans on. And he's a champion. And I'm like, wow, I could go and do that. It's inspiring that someone with a mid-card belt could be so over. Mm-hmm. And it really kind of capital. Like, to me, that's really what a mid-card title means. Of course, I'm skipping over Bret Hart. I'm skipping over Shawn Michaels. I'm skipping over a lot of other names. But this is from my perspective. This is from where I grew up. I went back and watched those years later. But when I first started watching, it was Jeff Hardy Intercontinental Championship.
Fair enough.
That was me.
I'm gonna to go off the tagline of back in time before time existed, I'm going way back. This is someone who got over to the point where they wanted to put him up against the world champion and ended up winning. This is somebody who went up against the world champion and took the big belt while being the mid-card champion.
I know who you're talking about.
And this one, ooh, put the fuel in the rocket power, the ultimate warrior.
There it is. There it is.
Intercontinental champion.
There it is.
There it is.
The man who got held, and I'm pretty sure, if I'm not mistaken, Noah, Jack, correct me if I'm wrong, double champion. Intercontinental and world champion, right? He did it, if I'm not mistaken. Shit.
Champion Chris Jericho, Intercontinental Champion.
There you go.
There you
So for Noah, it was Chris Jericho is the best mid-card champion. For Jack, it was Jeff Hardy. For me, it was the 1980s reference, the 80s
Ultimate Warrior that apparently
Ultimate
killed your
Warrior.
feed. Like, don't speak his name from beyond the grave.
Oh man, can't do that.
I'm literally holding my computer around my entire room to try to get the best reception right now because my Wi-Fi is totally trash.
And I say, let's wrap it up, brothers.
Let's wrap it up then, brother.
Guys, we got the Wrestling Sauce Wrestling Show toast that we always like to do. It is, may those who love us, and may those who hate us, may their hearts be turned. And if their hearts cannot be turned, let their ankles be turned so that we may know them by their limping. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been a wonderful episode for you. And this is the longest running in history episode. You guys take care.
Wait till
We'll
next
see you
week.
Next week. Exactly. Until next week when it's 3 hours long. All righty, guys.